Okay, good evening for those of you who are jumping on and watching this live tonight. It's a kit together. We're putting together the August Block of the Month Barn Quilt cards that I offer. So this is a chance for you to see how they're put together. If you've never done them before, I can direct you to the Google form that you can fill out, and you can get started with next month's cards, which I will reveal at the end of the projects tonight. Hi, Vesta. So you can hear me okay? You guys, let's hope that Facebook is kind to us this evening. I don't want to have to keep like uploading part 1s and 2s to YouTube. I'm really hoping that Facebook gets this figured out. So, hi Sharon. So let's just hope that it's an uneventful live. I won't talk too long so that, you know, I feel like that just gives Facebook time to stall something out. So we're just going to get started. Hi, Colleen. Okay, Vesta, thank you for letting me know that you can hear me. Hi, Linda. Okay, so it's a holiday weekend. I don't know if there will be a lot jumping on, but this will be available for replay for at least 30 days before Facebook takes it down. In the meantime, I will make sure that it gets uploaded to my YouTube channel, and there's a playlist that is just for the Barn Quilt Kit Together videos. So if you've been participating and you're a little behind and you want to catch a live that Facebook has already deleted, just go over to YouTube and click on the playlist and look for the month that you're wanting to follow so that you can do your cards. Hi, Carol. Hi, Ruby. All right, let's get going. So the August kit, the colors were inspired by the Turtley Cute Designer Series paper. And I also was looking for patterns that kind of had that shell look to them, like a turtle shell. So I thought that these patterns kind of, if you really put your mind to it, you could see where I was going with it. I'm gonna follow along on the PDF that you get when you get into this block of the month. Everyone gets the PDF, but you've got an option to get a card kit to go along with it if you want to use the same colors and the same embossing for the front of the card. If you want it to be just like mine, you can get a kit, and then you'll have what you need. Now keep in mind, I provide you the cardstock, but there is cutting that you're going to need to do. But if you follow along with the PDF, you'll know what to cut for each block. So let's get started. And during this live, I do not go over measurements because it is a paid kit. But you can kind of you'll get a chance to see what we do every month with these barn quilts. And so my kit was inspired by the barn quilts that you will see if you're traveling through the country. You come across a barn or a building that's got a huge quilt block on it. I think almost every state has barn quilt trails in maybe at least one county. So you might be familiar with them, but that's what I've based my kit on. And they're miniatures. These are miniatures. But I try to make them so that they're easy for you to handle. Sometimes pieces get a little tiny, but I'm telling you, if you just work through it, it's worth the little bit of extra effort. Hi, Linda. Yeah, we've only got 2 weeks till retreat, and you know what? I'm not ready with my stuff, but I'll be ready by within 2 weeks. So, hi, Tina. Okay, so we're going to start with this block right here. So I'm going to leave that card close by so that I can look to it. And I'm going to get out, this is just a layer to frame our barn quilt. The square that I'm working on is this one right here. And I've got my pieces already cut. and you're just going to watch me put it together. So sometimes that's the easiest way to learn. I know that I am a visual learner, and so once I see it done, I can usually follow right along and be very happy with the results. Hi, Trudy from New Mexico. Welcome. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to fill that center square with this square of Granny Apple Green. So I'm going to place that right in the center. My grid is already drawn on my base, and you get those directions in the PDF. And then we're going to put a little 4-patch inside of that center square. Do I need to make it a little bit bigger, you guys? Let's see if we can zoom a little bit more. And then let's see what that looks like on the computer. And we'll see if I need to go any further. Hi, Christine from Manitoba. Thank you for watching. Hi, Barb from Massachusetts. Hi, Peggy. Hi, Marilyn. Okay, so I got a couple of little squares of shaded spruce, and we're just going to put these in opposite corners of that center square. I like to pick up my blocks when I'm working on them so that I can really get a good look that I'm going all the way out to the edges. So there's one, and we're going to put this in the opposite corner and create that cute little 4-patch. So we are building on top of other pieces of cardstock. Okay, I'm just trying to move it around to make sure that I'm within my borders, because I've got other pieces that need to meet up to that center square. So I don't want anything to be crooked, otherwise my other pieces are not going to fit in really nice. Hi, Shirley. Hey, Linda. Okay, definitely better. Good. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm working from the inside and I'm working outwards. So we have these rectangles of early espresso, and we're going to put them right around that center square. I want to do a dry run though. I want to make sure that my pieces aren't cut too long. If they are, I can come in with my snips and just do a sliver. See how this one's a little long? I think I just want to take a smidge off of that. That's better. But I first want to make sure that everything's going to fit within the lines that are drawn on the grid. And if it's where I can even it out and not change it too much, I'll just go with it. So I'm pretty happy with that right there. And once you're happy with what you see, then go back in and glue them down. It's real easy to get excited and you think that, man, when I cut all these pieces, I did pretty good. And then you come to find that you might just be a little long on one. So it's a lot easier on you if you just put them down, take a look at it, and then make any adjustments that you need before gluing them down. But, you know, I am one who I get excited and I want to put it together, and I just start gluing things down, and then it's like, oh boy, I probably should have tested that first. But you know, then you just make other adjustments, right? Doesn't mean that you got to start totally over. If you can make the adjustment, great. But You know, if we can be accurate from the get-go, it makes the pattern so much easier. So we've got this going on around that center square. And now I've got some triangles here. And I am going to set these right down in these corners. Okay, and the one thing I didn't do in the prior step, and I usually always want to make sure, I talk a lot about muscle memory. And I should have been showing you how to go to the one spot, turn your square so that you're going to that same spot all the time. But I was talking and I didn't think about it. But I'm going to show you that now, okay? Because it makes it a lot easier to know where the pieces go if your hand goes to the same place every time. Hi, Ornetta, how are you? Hi, Linda. Okay, so what I mean is these triangles, the 90-degree angle is going to sit right in the 90-degree angle that those rectangles created, okay? And so these will sit in each one of those. Now, I don't want to have to keep turning my hand and, you know, feeling like I'm some kind of, what do they call the people that can, like, distort themselves and stuff? So I'm going to start, and I'm always going to be working in that upper left. It's like I had to ask myself, okay, right or left? That upper left corner. I'm going to set that right in there. Now, any pencil lines that you might see when you're done, you can always erase those if they're really prominent. I can see that because of what little adjustments I had to make with my bars, I'm kind of like not right on my pencil line, but that's okay. The pencil lines are a guide, and we just work with what we got. Okay, so now I'm going to turn my block one turn counterclockwise so that I go right back to that upper left-hand corner. I don't have to guess where it goes. Okay, turn it again. So how is everybody's holiday weekend going so far? We got a big surprise. The kids are in town. They're staying out at Maumee Bay State Park. We were out there this afternoon. River went swimming, and we visited for a little while, and then we're going to go out again tomorrow and have breakfast before they head back to the Akron area where they're from. So, yeah, it was a nice surprise that they came into town and we got to see them. So that's what we were doing this afternoon. Okay, one last triangle. Is anybody happy that football is back? I know I am. Okay, so there we have our triangles all filled in. And now what we're going to do is I've got 2 squares, Petal Pink and Flirty Flamingo. And I'm going to put them up here in the corners, but I'm going to I'm just going to alternate the colors all the way around. So if I'm going to start out with, my PDF says I started out with Flirty Flamingo. I'm going to tuck this right up here in this corner. My point, or one of my corners, should be touching the side of that triangle. And I'm just running my finger across the sides to make sure that my little corner square here is staying within the base, okay? So now I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to put the Petal Pink. I like to pick up my blocks a lot so I can get a really good look at them. Okay, happy with that one. So turn it again, and we're just going to do this 2 more times, and then the very first block is going to be done. Oh, Linda's happy her dogs won. I like the Bulldogs as long as Ohio State doesn't have to play them, which usually has been what? Last couple years for the playoffs. But I always liked the Georgia Bulldog, the G. I always have thought that it was a really classy looking logo. And of course, you know, you can't resist the Bulldog. And my sister-in-law lives in Georgia, so it's fun to have that in common, the football, with them down there. Okay, so if I turn it back to the very beginning, this block is done. Oh, Peggy, you have the hot air balloon. Is that a different one than, is there one in Albuquerque, New Mexico too? But I know out west, like you'll see calendars done with all of those hot air balloons, you know, and it's just like a beautiful, beautiful sight. Is that the same one or not? Because I don't know, like, wait, Albuquerque's in New Mexico, so no, it's not, you're not the same one. But I'm sure it's just as spectacular. Hi, Michelle. Glad you're here. And contortionist, that's what I was thinking of. Hi, Margie. How are you? Thank you for being here. So now what I would do with this block is I would put it in an embossing folder, and I would run it through my cut and emboss machine. The pressure from those rollers are going to help lay down my ridges. If you were to run your finger across your block right now, you can feel the layers that we built up. But when you can run it through an embossing folder, it melts all the seams together and it flattens out the ridges, and it's a lot smoother. So as you can see in this one that's already done, if I run my finger over this, I might feel, you know, some layers, but not as much as it was before I ran them through. And plus, look at the texture. Now, this is the subtle embossing folder. Stampin' Up! Retired it a couple years ago. If you can find something like this, or even use the timber embossing folder, which is in the current annual catalog, it gives you just that wood grain look, like it was a painted barn quilt, and just helps flatten everything out really nice. Don't think you can't make these barn quilts if you don't have a machine. You can still make the barn quilts, and they have that really pretty flat paint look to them. Okay, so I'm going to set this one aside, because when we put our cards together, I will use this one. The one we just did after the live, I will emboss it, and then I will adhere it to that frame, and then I'll be good to use it on a card or just tuck it away. I have a collection of the barn quilts that we have done over the years, so it might just go in that little collection, but it also might make it to another card. Okay, so that'll get done later. So that is our first barn quilt. Hi, Trudy. Oh, wow. Okay. Good to know. Maybe someday I'll make it out west. When we were first married, maybe, we did make it out west. We went to a NASCAR race in Vegas. Actually, we've been there twice. Back in the day, I did make a trip to California to see friends, but they were like visiting, either like it's a NASCAR race or it was just visiting, and I didn't really get a chance to like really get to know out west. So I would love to do that, because now I can bird, and and make my life list bigger by getting out of Ohio and going west, the birds are totally different than they are. It's like you cross that Mississippi River and you've got like a whole nother world when it comes to birding. So I really do need to get out west. Maybe we could plan something and maybe we could all meet for everybody who's out west. So here's the second block. Now this has got some triangles that we need. I'm going to show you how I cut little triangles. But this is our next block. It has the same frame, the same foundation piece to get started on. If you've got tiny squares that need to be cut diagonally for triangles, my friend Sharon shared this tip, and she shared it with our group, Quilt Cards and More. If you take a Post-it note and you put your squares on point, which means they look like a diamond, okay? Lay them down on that sticky side so that the paper holds the square. Now, I still like to hold on to my squares so nothing moves, but then I'll come in with my snips and I will cut from point to point, and with them being down on this sticky side of the Post-it note, it really helps out. Trying to hold this size of a square in my fingers and getting my snips in there can be rather, it feels like you're all thumbs, okay? What I want to share with you, if you've never seen this tip, get out a Post-it note, let the sticky side help hold the square, and then you can just go in and concentrate on cutting from corner to corner, opposite corner, and create your triangles, okay? Hi, Susan. How are you? Oh, so what, if it's 8:30, so it's a good time in the morning for you, right? You're like, no, you're like 24. Why can't I remember what the time difference is in Australia? I don't know. Is it nighttime for you or is it morning? Hi, Julie. Julie, I would have to go back and look. I can do that after the live is over. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Sheila. So that's just a tip that I want to share with you. Okay, so let's get started. So to get started with this block here, again, we're going to work from the inside out. I want to take these triangles and I want to make sure that my 90-degree angle is up here in the corner of that center square. And this is really a good time to play and see how these work together. We're just putting them in the corners, and what we're creating is we're creating a on-point square that actually is just the base, but it gives the illusion like we've done like a square and a square. So what you want to do is these do not want to play nice with my big fingers right now, but you're just looking that you've got a nice square. It might be a little off, like this one here. It's not a true square, but that is my cutting. But it wasn't so noticeable to me that I was going to totally start over. So when I laid these down, I can make this work. So I'm going to move the ones I'm not going to glue out. And remember, we're going to turn these. So let's just get them off of the base to begin with. And I'm using a small tip applicator of glue, and I'm going to put just the tiniest amount there up like in the corner. Here's another tool that can make your life easier when it comes to little pieces. Take the putty end of take your pick up your triangle, and then set it in that corner. I'm not going to push this down too hard just yet. Now I'm going to turn my block. I'm going to go to that same corner. I'm going to put just a little tiny bit of glue up in that corner. I think I use this one next. I'm going to pick up my triangle and I'm going to set it in there. I'm going to move this one down just a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to turn it again, and I'm just going to keep doing that until I'm all the way around. Again, do a dry run. I felt pretty confident. Oops, this one's falling outside of my lines here. So, put that up here. Gonna push that corner out a little bit. Got a little bit of glue coming out from underneath, so I'm just gonna use my fingernail to fix it. Just gently push it so that what I want to do is make sure I got a nice straight line on the outside, because I need pieces to meet that. So I want a straight seam. I don't want anything crooked. And then my last one, right there. And let's put this right here. Making sure our points are meeting. Want to make sure I have a nice straight line there. I'm going to turn it one more time. I just want to make sure I got some straight lines. Well, that square in the center looks a lot better than this one here. So that's the first step. Now the second step to this block. Hi, Betty. Hey, Amanda. Claudia's here too. Yay. Guys are up at the cabin. Are there any loons calling? We've got some triangles that we did the same with the Granny Apple Green. Now these are going to create a star around our center. So they're going to go above the early espresso triangles, and we're just going to go around and we're going to create this star. So I'm going to put, again, a very tiny, well, wait. Let's just kind of, I'm going to keep my triangles in pairs since I cut them together. They should play well together. So I'm going to pick them up in pairs. I'm not taking them all off of there yet. And what I want to do is I want to see how they line up here. Okay. So not too bad, and I'm going along that. Now that I'm okay with that, I'll pick them up. I'm going to put a little tiny dot of glue. And then I will set that triangle right on top. And butt it right up against that early espresso. And you're going to just keep doing that all the way around. But again, I'm keeping these triangles in pairs because I cut them together. Got a little bit of glue out of there. Okay, I'm going to turn it. I'm going to pick up 2 more triangles. I'm going to make sure that they fit. And they do, so I'm going to go ahead and put them down. I think as long as I keep them in pairs, they should work really nice with each other. Whoops, I might have to get some more putty out here. So this block here is a little bit more work, but the result is going to be totally worth it. Okay, just going to keep going a couple more sides, and then it gets easier. Okay, so that there. I was a little wonky on my cutting here. This little point looks like it's going to be a little bit shorter than the other one. Oh, wow. I'm going to make it work. If anything, this is going to be my humility block. Okay, that's really not that bad. It's not that bad. I got off just a little bit in my cutting when I was using the snips. Okay, and then a little bit of glue here. Just want to make sure I'm going all the way out to the edge. Okay, one more. Take these last two triangles. And I'm feeling pretty confident. I'm just going to go ahead and put my glue down. And let's just place those right there. Oh boy, I think I got some neighbors who think it's July 4th. I don't know if you guys can hear it outside, but it's the end of summer and they're celebrating. Okay, so there is our star that is around our center square. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Sharon. Let's see. Hey, Ruby. Hey, Peg. It's raining in Iowa. You know what? We need the rain here in Ohio. So you can send some of that our way. Oh my goodness, you know what? They're saying that tomorrow night after 9 o'clock, we have a chance here to see the northern lights. And it could be the same intensity or close as to what we had a year ago. Or this past April is when I saw them for the first time out at the lake. So I'm following some different apps, and if we've got a really good chance, I think we're going to go out and see if we can see them again. Okay, so the next step that we're going to do is we're going to get these big triangles of shaded spruce. And remember where we put the Poppy Parade ones in the last quilt block? These are the same. We created these little corners here. And our triangles are going to sit right in those nooks, okay? So go ahead and put our large triangles in there. Sounds like popcorn outside. So here's a funny for you guys. Seti, our youngest dog that we got last year, she's still a puppy. She's just over a year old. We found, here I'm going to turn it again. We were kind of worried this past July 4th. We're like, oh my goodness, is she going to be afraid of fireworks? You know, what do we expect? Totally fine with fireworks outside. Now, we don't keep our dogs outside when the fireworks are going on just because so many dogs in Toledo get out and get loose because they get spooked by how loud they are. But we'll go outside for a little bit because we want to see what our neighbors are doing with their fireworks. She was fine with that. I start getting excited over a football game and she goes running into her crate and she would not come out. And I try not to get too overly excited about football, but I can't help it. You know, it's something that I learned from my mom. She loved football. And I can't help but get excited and, you know, yell and all of that. Well, Seti doesn't want nothing to do with that. So she totally left the room and went into her crate. It's just crazy that she can be okay with fireworks, but not okay with a football game. Oh my goodness, you guys, if you ever get the chance. Now, the Northern Lights, when I saw them, you could see with the naked eye that there was something going on. But where we were at, not a lot of light pollution, but from Toledo, you could still get some of it. But if you took your cell phone and you put the camera up to the sky, I mean, the colors just came flooding in, the greens and the reds and purples. And so you really got to see what was going on. But with the naked eye, we didn't have such a good view that with the naked eye, I saw the same thing that my camera did. But what an awesome experience. If you ever get a chance, oh, please don't pass it up. It's an amazing thing. Okay, so around in between, in our middle squares here, we're going to take a square of petal pink, and I'm going to alternate these, and these should fit right in the nooks that were created by your star. Okay? So they should fit right, they should fit in there really nice. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to set these in. These are pretty easy. I'm not going to rotate my block. These fit in there really nice. If you've got a nice angle, these should fit in. They should almost snap in, almost like if you're doing a puzzle. Push them in there and make sure they get really nice and close to the Granny Apple Green triangles. Okay, one more. Okay, so now you've got that. Now what's left is our Poppy Parade, and these squares are going to go up in the four corners, just like the squares that we did. Oh, I got 5. Okay, cool. Just like we did with the last block. Pick that up. And just finish putting these around. And you finish it the same way. You will put it in an embossing folder, give it some texture, and then you are going to frame it with that piece of basic black, that square of basic black. And it's amazing that when you use an embossing folder, the way that it just, all the seams melt together. So you can be looking at your block and you're like, oh, you know, you're noticing everything that maybe not right where you wanted it. But when it comes out of that embossing folder, it just melts them away. And it's like magic. Okay, so that's the last one. And so that is our second barn quilt. Again, quilt it, center it on that square of basic black, and I've got one ready to go. I've already put dimensionals on the back of my barn quilt so that when I show you the card, it's just going to go right on top. So I will finish this one up after the live. And now I've got our 2 blocks. And in your kit, if you get the kit, you get 2 card bases, you get 2 embossed card fronts. What did I do with mine? Okay. So you get 2 card bases. These are early espresso. And then in your kit, you get the embossed card front. You just have to cut it down to the right size. You also get the card insert. So I think now that we're going to this step, I am going to, whoops, go in maybe a little bit like that. Okay. Don't need to be quite as close now. Oh, thank you, Vesta. It is a game changer, isn't it, Betty? Oh, you're going to the Outer Banks? Oh, never been there. Heard it's beautiful. Are you going to go look for the horses, the wild horses that are out there? I would love to see them. But have fun. Okay, so I've layered my card base onto the front of my card. Now, I zhuzhed up my card by adding some Designer Series paper from the Turtley Cute DSP. So I've already put a little accent strip on the back, and I put an accent strip on the insert just to zhuzh it up a little bit. And you can use any paper you want to do that. This just coordinates with all the colors that we used in our barn quilts. So that's why I chose to go with that Designer Series paper. So now, what I've got to do is just lay your barn quilts on the front of your cards. And a lot of times, depending on the pattern, they can look a little different if you turn them on point. So let's just play. What does this one look like if it goes on point? Now, a lot of times, this is when I realize, oh boy, you weren't very straight. And if it looks too wonky, I will not turn it. So I'm just like, oh, I don't know about that. I'm going to see what the computer shows. And what about this one on point? You know, so it's just like taking a look at them. And I don't know. I think I like them square. I'm seeing on my computer right now, this one here, I'm seeing a lot of things that are not as straight as I would like them. This square here is a little wonky, but I don't notice it so much if I keep it square. So I think I'm going to keep these square just because I am way too picky. Let's see if I can even hide that even more if I put him on the bottom. But then my center is a little wonky. You know what? I think I'm just going to save this one. I'm not putting this one on. I think what I'll do is I'll finish this one. Let's see if this one's any better. If I turn that on point. It's a little better. I don't know. I think I'm better off if I just keep them, square. So I think I'm going to use this one. So I'll finish this one later. But you're just taking the backings off of your dimensionals. And then this is going to pop it off your building here, off your barn. And, you know, you can put this wherever you want. If you're looking at your card and you're like, well, I've got a sentiment I want to add, know where you're going to place your barn quilt so that you've got room for a sentiment label, or how are you going to finish it? You don't have to do it this way. This becomes your own. So I'm just going to put that down. And those would be the cards for the month of August. Yeah, I had to go for square, Claudia. Okay, so a lot of you guys are feeling the same way. So, I mean, you just got to play, because you might get a really pleasant surprise when you turn that block on point, because it becomes something totally, it becomes a whole new block when you turn it on point. There's like, even like, the whole illusion is different. Okay, so those were the barn quilts for August. And then in your PDF you get, so your PDF can be 3 to 4 pages. I print them back to back, so I'm not using so much paper. But in your PDFs you'll get an alternative layout, and you don't have to do this layout. It's just to give you another way to finish off your card. And what I did with this one is, if you can see here in my PDF, I'm gonna kind of turn this up here. We created these little tabs, and those little tabs, when we set our block on them, kind of made them movable. So like this, if I turn this to the side, if I fold this, see how these little tabs here on either side make this movable? Okay. Now I didn't set out to make these easel cards. Okay. You could easily make them an easel card, but I didn't want an easel card. I just wanted a card that stood up, but because they fold, I didn't want to see just a plain white insert. So I put a strip of designer series paper, and that way when it's standing up, like you can see in the picture here, but I did put this one on point. And I added some embellishments. This one here I kept square, but it stands the same way. But you can see in the picture how when the card is standing, you can see some pretty designer series paper and not the white of the inside. So that was the alternative that came with your PDF. Okay, and tonight I just played with the alternative layout for September's cards. It's something I've never done before. I've always wanted to do it, but I never got around to trying it. But I did it, and you'll see what it is come your PDF. I'm not gonna give it away because there's got to be some kind of surprise. So, are you ready to see what September looks like? How many people want to see? We're changing colors, okay? I've done a lot of quilt blocks lately with some bright, fun colors, but now we're moving into fall and winter. So, let me show you the piece of designer series paper that was my inspiration. The colors in this designer series paper, which you can get September 3rd, is from the Autumn Twa designer series paper. It's in the mini catalog, okay? And it was my inspiration for the colors that I went with, okay? And in your kit, you're going to get some die cuts, and you're going to get a little bit of designer series paper because I used designer series paper in one of the blocks. Okay, so if you get the kit, you're going to get that. And I want to be able to send those extra pieces to those who only get the PDF. So that way you're not missing out, because you're going to need them for the one block. So the very first block that I did is this one right here. And this is designer series paper. It's actually the B-side of the inspiration paper. Okay. So you can use, when you get your little swatch in your card kit, you can decide which side you want to use. But this gray granite is so stunning. Okay, but it's going to be up to you what you want to use. So that is the first block. And then we haven't done applique blocks in our barn quilts for a little while. So the second pattern is this pumpkin with a star. And the die cut pieces that you're going to get are actually from the branching out bundle. But I'm die cutting these out for you. You'll need to color the caps of your acorns, which you can just use, you can use a marker. You'll have to do that, but you're going to get the die cuts of the acorns and the leaves. And I'm waiting for the pumpkin die cuts to come, because this stem of this pumpkin, I just used a scrap of pecan pie. But if I like the stem that comes with the pumpkin dies, then I'm going to die cut the stem and put that in your kit also. I just got to see. I don't know how big the dies are and if it looks proportionate to the block. But I got to tell you, these colors here, if you're a quilter, does this not give you thimbleberry vibes? Is anybody familiar with the Thimbleberries line of fabrics and the colors? This just speaks to me thimbleberries. It's not. They're not thimbleberries, but I can't help but look at these colors and think of those fall fabrics that I used to collect from the Thimbleberry collection. And I wish I could think off the top of my head who the quilt designer is that has the Thimbleberry line. But it's escaping me. So if you are a quilter and you know what I'm talking about, let me know, because it's just not, it's like I can picture her, but I cannot think of her name. So this is the September kit. And then I went ahead and I put some of the designer series paper on the back and on the inside of my cards. So I really recommend that you get this DSP on the 3rd when the mini catalog goes live. If you're not a demonstrator and got it in the pre-order, then you're going to want this. This is gorgeous, gorgeous paper. And it's just so fall. Vicki, you know what I'm talking about, right? If you made a pumpkin quilt with the collection. Yes, I just cannot. It's like, no, not Debbie Mom. She was someone I was, oh my goodness. When I first got, in 1998, when I came back to quilting. So I made my first quilt in 1980, 81, my senior year for home ec. And didn't pick it up again until like 1998. But I was all about Debbie Mom. I had to have Debbie Mom everything. But, yeah, I mean, the Thimbleberry, I can picture her, and I can picture her name, but I just can't see it enough that it, comes off the, out of my mouth. So, anyway, Lynette, yes, Margie, yes, Lynette. What is Lynette's last name? Oh my goodness. But yes, Lynette. So it just, to me, these colors have that vibe, and it takes me back to when I got back to quilting back in the late 90s. Jensen, yes, that's it. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Sharon, this is September's Barn Quilts. And I will be including the die cut pieces. And for those of you that get just the PDF, I would like to send you the die cut pieces and the little bit of designer series paper so that you have that. Okay. So if you have not done this kit and you're interested, on the Chirpy page, there is a form to fill out and send back to me so that I can get you, PayPal generates the invoices. And so there's information I need from you so that I can put it into PayPal. And on the 9th, those invoices go out. Now, I have an in-person retreat in September, so I am already working ahead because I want to have these kits out in the mail really, really quick. When I'm at retreat, I'm not going to have time to, be worrying about all that. So I want to get ahead. But if you fill out the form and you get it to me, then you'll see an invoice depending on if you want the kit or you want just the PDF. You'll see that come in your email on the 9th. And then I like to have the kits mailed out by the 15th. And I want the PDF to hit really soon also. That way when I go to retreat, I know that I have all that work behind me. I can just enjoy my retreat and get ready for what October's kit is going to look like. So if you have a hard time finding that form, send me a message and I'll give you the link and you can fill it out. And you're not locked in. You can opt in or out each month. When I see that there's invoices that aren't paid, I go in and I delete them. It doesn't kick you out. I don't kick anybody out unless I see like for 3 or 4 months they haven't done anything. I don't want PayPal, taking up your inbox to your email address. So I'm going to assume that you're not interested. And if you ever want to pick it back up, all you have to do is send me a form and I'll know that you're wanting to opt back in and I'll get it set up. Okay? Yes, Barbara, that's it. We were just talking about that. So anyway, you guys, that's it for tonight. Thank you for spending your holiday evening with me. And I hope you're as excited about next month as I am. And I'll just let you go. And we'll see each other back here next Thursday for the Thursday Facebook Live. But I think that's all I got. If there's not any... Okay, Vicki, you can't find the link. You know what? I'm going to post the link on the Chirpy page. Okay? So that's what I'll do, is I'll just post the link for the barn quilt on the Chirpy page, and you can use that, okay? All right, good night, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your holiday if you have another day to go. And we'll see you back here on Thursday. Oh, you're welcome, Tina. Great. Okay, you guys, talk to you later.